Are you struggling with posing your wedding couples? Maybe you're looking for new posing ideas? In this video, I will show you 7 of my favorite poses that I use at every single wedding. Let's get into it. Before you get into your portrait session, make sure that you're comfortable, relaxed, and confident. You want to keep it simple, make your couple laugh, and get to know them a little bit before you get into your session. The main thing is make sure you're taking the lead. Your couples want direction because most likely they're not gonna know what to do or how to pose, and that is what you're there for. Don't expect them to know how to pose. Pose number 1 is the hipster pose. I love this pose because this is a very classic pose. This is where you have your couple standing side by side, maybe 1 to 2 feet away from each other, holding hands and looking either straight into the camera, at each other, or away from each other. You can even have them lean in and kiss. I love this pose because this gives me the opportunity to grab my wide lens like a 35mm or 24mm and be able to capture some amazing scenery with the beautiful couple. Pose number 2 is from the back. So you always want to make sure that you capture the back of the couple. The reason why I like this pose is because it gives me the opportunity to capture the details of the bride's dress, which she will absolutely appreciate. And this is where you can have the couple facing forward. You can have them holding hands, either looking at each other or lean in real close or even walking. You can even have the groom looking down at the bride, glancing at her, or have the bride just kind of slightly looking back and into the camera. You can do several different things with this pose, but I always make sure that I capture the back every time. Pose number 3 is the forehead to forehead pose. I absolutely love this pose. It is my favorite. It is my signature pose. Everybody knows it. And the reason why I love this pose so much is because it's so intimate. And I always like to make sure that my couples just get real close to each other. The more touchy-feely they are, the better. And so this is where I have my couple facing each other and their forehead to forehead. And you can have them looking down and just be really just have that romantic, intimate vibe going on. Sometimes I'll even have the groom kind of hold the bride at the face. So there's several things you can do with this pose. I normally like to come in real close and just get more of the close-up shots. So I'll either use my 35mm or my 50mm for this type of pose. Pose number 4 is the wraparound pose. This is my second favorite pose as well. The reason why I love this pose is because it's also very intimate, and this is where you have the groom standing behind the bride and kind of wrap his arms around her and get like real close, almost like they're hugging. And this is where you can have the groom whisper something into her ear and kind of make the bride laugh and just give it more of like that natural type of look. You can even say something to them and make them laugh, and he can even hold her and kind of like move her back and forth. So there's so many different options with this pose. I as well love to come in real close on this pose as well because I want to see their reaction, and so I will generally use my 35mm or my 50mm and just get right in there. Pose number 5 is the twirling or the lift pose. I generally wait to do this type of pose more toward the end of the session. That's where the couple is just more comfortable with each other. And then I like to just get in those, candid shots. So this is where I have, the groom holding the bride and just kind of twirling her around. He can even hold the bouquet and she can hold her dress so she doesn't trip, and she can just twirl, just kind of like back and forth or all around. I love this pose. I think it's super fun and just about every couple enjoys it. The next pose is the lift pose. So this is where you have the groom slightly lift the bride at her waist. So nothing too crazy. He's not throwing her up in the air, and he just slightly just does a lift, and they can look at each other and laugh or even kiss. But make sure that before you do this pose that they are okay with that. You want to make sure that, you know, the bride is comfortable, the groom is comfortable, because he is going to be lifting her up. So make sure you communicate with the couple before you do something like this. Pose number 6 is the walking pose. Again, a very candid shot. Super natural. This is where you have the couple walking toward the camera, holding hands, looking at each other, just smiling and laughing and interacting. I also have the groom typically just hold a bouquet and have the bride hold at her dress. Sometimes if the dress is too long or longer in front of her, she can trip. So just make sure you know, keep an eye on that. But there are times where, you know, the bride doesn't need to, you know, hold her dress and she can hold a bouquet. But I just love the walking pose. I think it's super fun, and most of my couples really enjoy it. And last but not least, pose number 7. This is where I have the bride and the groom standing just side by side. I have the bride right behind the groom. The groom can look forward or kind of tilt his head down looking at the bride. But this is where the bride just kind of comes in real close and almost gives him a hug from the behind. And she can either lay her hands on his, you know, arms or around his waist or at his chest and just kind of lean in, or even lay her head on his back. So I really like this pose. It's very intimate, and most of my couples really enjoy it, and it's also one of my favorite poses. And that's it, guys. I hope these poses were very helpful for you. I would love to hear in the comments below what all your favorite poses are, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.